It's time to spend some time with Rick.
Well, hey everybody. I am doing this very just on the street, raw. That's why I have my headphones on. I'm sitting here at Starbucks where I often start a morning, typically talking to Indrani, who I just was talking to, and wanted to do this quote-unquote behind the scenes of Zakir Hussain. Let you know right up front, you are not going to see any footage of the interview. You're just going to see me talking to you about it. I'll explain why. So I'm hoping you can hear me okay. I have the headphones on with the mic because they play music in the Starbucks, and their sounds you could probably hear as ambient noise in the background. Hopefully it's not distracting. I wanted you to be able to hear me fully and just take a few minutes to explain why I didn't film behind the scenes, and then just tell you about the experience. I hope that's enough for you to hear me and see me talk to you about what it was like to be with this legend, and how astonishing it was, and how thrilled we are at the responses, and how we kept it a secret from you guys and knew we couldn't wait for that to drop because we knew you would all lose your freaking minds, and you did not disappoint. So let me tell you why there's no behind-the-scenes footage. I actually started filming some behind-the-scenes footage as we were driving up. We went up. His concert was in Santa Barbara, and it just occurred to me while we were up there. We got there and I pulled up and was doing some video of our arrival and his tour bus. And I just had a sense in my spirit, no. This is a very precious, special gift we're being given right now. And in no way, shape, or form do I want to do anything that could be construed as anything other than respectful and appropriate. He had agreed to 30 minutes of interview time. We didn't get permission to do behind the scenes. I didn't want there to seem like there was some opportunistic thing I was trying to attempt by getting extra footage that he was not aware of. And I think that contributed to the trust and the fact that he was so, I think that's just the nature of the man himself. As you could tell from the interview, he is so humble and laid back and relaxed, and makes you feel relaxed. And so I really am glad I didn't do that, because I felt that was something that he deserved. Glad I trusted my gut and my intuition on that. So as much as I'm sure you're disappointed in not have any behind the scenes, I think you understand my heart in that regard. And I also think it's important that there's a level of privacy afforded to a man of such stature, that he just, there's nothing that we should film of his that he wasn't completely aware of and knew was going to get put even inside. Like, you're not supposed to film anything inside during a concert. I actually had just set my record so I could pick up the audio, and even that I thought, you know what, that's not we didn't get permission to do that. I'm not doing that. So that's the explanation. It was out of our deep respect for that man and wanting to treasure and steward the time we were given with him as respectfully and honoring as we possibly could. So now for the interview process. We've known that we were going to go see him and do this for weeks. It was something that Corbin was able to arrange simply by reaching out to his people, and to our total astonishment, we were simply wanting to go see him in concert. We just found out he was in concert and wanted to go see, and Corbin thought, if I can contact his people, let them know who we are, maybe they'll give us a yes. And boy, did they give us a yes. 30 freaking minutes, a half hour, and communicated with us that after his sound check, he'd be available. We thought we were actually going to do the interview in his tour bus, but that was changed last minute. We didn't care. Wherever he wanted to get it done, we were going to do it. And so we arrived very early, and we were supposed to contact him at 5:25 p.m. and at 5:25 p.m. Corbin called, and we waited just outside of the venue in Santa Barbara. There it was at UC Santa Barbara, the University of California at Santa Barbara. And we were then ushered into the actual theater and into a back area dressing room, which is the dressing room you saw. And at first, when we got into the dressing room, my thoughts were, oh, this is cramped and not really nice looking. I mean, I hope he's okay with this. I mean, I wanted to have the most respectful atmosphere for him, and thought, inside of his tour bus would have given more of an element of him and what he does. But hey, they said, this is where you're doing it. We said, you get it. That's where we'll do it. And once we got in there, heard some voices out in the hall while we were setting up. Immediately heard and recognized his voice. And I said to Corbin and Stephanie, I said, there he is, that's him. And he came in the room, and we were still in the process of setting everything up. Everything being our usual tripod and camera setup for our stupid reactions. And he was immediately gracious and handshake, and where do you want me to sit? Where should I be? He made no assumptions about where he was going to sit. And immediately was what you see in the interview. I mean, he's no different off camera than he is on camera, as you would expect. And when we started the interview, I think you could tell that both Corbin and I, we were beginning with physical communication that conveyed our level of respect. We didn't want to be too casual at first with him. And there's something in communication skills called mirroring, that what you do is you mirror the body language of the person you're with, especially if they're a figure that's above you, and you defer actually at the beginning. And so it was important to me to sit more proper in front of him, and he immediately made sure that we were comfortable. And I could tell he wanted us to be as comfortable as he was. He was doing a lot of, I think you can see at the beginning, he's touching Corbin quite a bit. And we were very just respectful, and instantly he made it, as you can see in the interview, so comfortable and casual and joking around and fist bumping and so engaging. The most extraordinary thing among many about this man is his humility, and how the entirety of the time he made us feel like there was nothing else he needed to do that day. He didn't care about the time. He didn't have somebody there standing off to the side looking at their watch. He trusted that we had said we'd be with him for 30 minutes, and we would be with him for 30 minutes. And I mean, the man had, I'm sure, a lot of things he needed to be doing. He could have gone to his trailer and rested. He had just finished a sound check for that night's concert. He had a concert that night, and there was nothing about him that said anything other than, I'm here for you guys, what can we do? And let's just spend some time together the whole time. And just because he's a teacher and he's a communicator, we knew this going in. We'd seen interviews of him. We knew that all we had to do was ask him a question, and he would give us a wealth of information that would lead to the next question. There's many questions we didn't even get to ask him. We knew we had over-prepared. We really wanted him to direct the interview. So you ask a question, some of the first that were most important to us, and then wherever his answer would lead us to the next question. And when we were done, Corbin said, I could sit and talk to that man for hours. I wish we could just go have a glass of wine or sit down and just talk to that man for hours on end. I said, you imagine the stories he has that he could share, both of his personal experience and what he's learned. And I think you can tell from the interview, he had some moments where he just threw away an answer. That's something you could put in your back pocket and meditate on for the rest of your life. Everything from my question to him regarding the mastery of his instrument, he gave me a life-changing perspective. I never intended it this way, at least consciously, but I said, you're a master of your instrument, and he immediately corrected me in a loving way and said, no, this is not master-servant. I have a relationship with this instrument, and it's not my right to master the instrument. And there is obviously a level of discipline you must have, but he specifically said, I don't get to play the tabla if the tabla doesn't allow me to. I am dependent. It's such a beautiful, humble position to be in, to recognize you're getting to play that instrument because the instrument's allowing you to play it, and that you take every moment of it not for granted. In fact, I thought when we went at the beginning of the concert, he had, I don't know what they're called, the technical word for it, but he had these very beautiful covers on each of his instruments, and he takes them off. And I said to Corbin, Corbin asked me, I said, I wonder why he has that on his instruments. I said, well, first of all, I'm sure it's protective, but I bet it's bigger. I bet he does that because it's part of his stewardship of the spirit of the instrument, and he's literally letting them rest. He doesn't want the light to mess with them. He doesn't want the air to mess with them. It's not their time to have to do anything. So just like he would go rest before a presentation, he's letting them rest and giving them respect. Really beautiful lesson in stewardship of your instrument, whether you're a musician or a singer or a dancer, that yes, you do have discipline and a level of mastery you want to achieve, but obviously he never thinks of himself as a master. He doesn't carry himself like a master. We went to dinner afterwards because we had time from the interview to the actual concert, and Corbin and Steffi and I were sitting there marveling at what we were just allowed to do. How there are people who will go their whole lives wishing they even got a chance to see him in concert, let alone had a moment to sit down with him. Most interviews that he does, I don't know that anyone's ever given him a 30-minute interview. If he was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon would talk to him for 10, 15 minutes. We got 30 minutes of interview time, plus an additional 15. We left the dressing room after the interview. Corbin asked him if he'd be willing to take a photo with us. He said, of course, let's take it outside. And as we're going out, he holds the door for us. I did everything I could to prevent that from happening, but I deferred to his authority, and he held the door for us. I held the door for him after he was done, and he said, thank you. And we went out and took the picture with him, and wonderfully, there were a group of people who were waiting for him as we came out, because we came out right to where his tour bus is, and there was a handful of people. And there was one gentleman there who clearly looked like he was Indian by the way he appeared. And as we started to walk away, this one gentleman in the midst looked at us and said, love your videos. We said, thank you. Inside the venue, we actually did not see a lot of Indians present. The majority of the people that were there were like your stereotypical American white folks that were there. In fact, a lady behind me was there to see the concert and did not know who he was. And she started talking to me because she saw Corbin and I go up to take pictures of the stage and the setup that Ustad ji has set up. And she said, well, I wanted to know why you guys took the picture. And I said, well, let me tell you, and told her about our stupid reactions, told her about this is a man whose total mastery is the only word I can think of, and I don't mean that anymore in terms of domination in mastering something, but his capacity in his skill. That I've never seen anybody who can play an instrument or do anything artistically the way this man can, and that her mind was about to be blown. And what can I tell you? The concert was the maestro. It was very unique because we've not seen him with this. It was an amazing combination of sounds because you had him, excuse me, you had Edgar Meyer. If you don't know who these people are, you really should look them up. And Bella Fleck, and on the flute was Rakesh. You'll remember we did a reaction to Zakir Hussain playing with Rakesh Chaurejia, if I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And what you basically had was you had Bella Fleck on banjo and Edgar Meyer playing the double bass. And then you had Rakesh Chaurejia on the flute and Zakir Hussain on tabla. The combination of those instruments, and each of them playing their own compositions and complementing each other and joking, but these four men, oh my goodness, and the combination of sounds, it's so interesting to hear a banjo with tabla and the blending of east and west sounds. It was a perfect, beautiful picture. I get emotional thinking about it, of the blending of east and west together. To hear banjo for us is more, bluegrass and country, and double bass is classical. And then to see Zakir Hussain and to see Rakesh sitting next to him playing the flute, and the beautiful amalgamation of the cultures was just deeply moving. And we kept looking at each other throughout the concert, Stephanie and Corbin and I, and just shaking our heads, both at the level of artistry of these men, but also that we got this privilege. So hope that's enough information for you for behind the scenes for what truly is a monumental moment in our personal lives as well as for the Stupid family. We're beside ourselves with astonishment that we got to spend time with a legend of the caliber of this man, and we will never, ever take it for granted. Ever, ever, ever. So there you have it. As Corbin said at the end of the interview with the maestro, that's it.